Hey, what's up? We're doing a little spoiler talk videos. Some of you guys have requested me getting a pro opinion on the new cards. I am surely going to provide that for you today. We're going to take a look at some of the mythics in the set, some of the standouts, some of the cards I like. This is going to be mostly focusing on standard. Maybe I mention other formats, but like when I'm rating a card, keep in mind that's focused on standard. And I'm also trying to give you a hint on if you should invest in this in terms of wildcards. Because, like, with the mythic wildcards, especially, or, I mean, yeah, or rare wildcards, they both are a scarce resource on Magic Arena. So you might want to know ahead if you want to invest or not. All right, let's start with Khan Living Legacy. A 4-mana planeswalker creates a tapped Power Stone token, so a tapped artifact that can only make mana for artifact spells or activated abilities. So it's kind of weird, but it works with the -1, where you can pay an amount of mana and then look at the top of your deck as much as mana as you paid, look at that many cards, and then pick one of them into your hand. I mean, both these abilities seem rather weak. If you're playing some sort of artifact ramp deck, okay, the +1 is kind of okay, but I mean, paying 4 mana to get like a Power Stone into play and a vulnerable planeswalker that just can be killed by opposing attacking creatures seems, yeah, and just like the -1, paying mana to draw cards is not really what I'm looking to do, especially when I'm also minusing. Like, this just seems much worse than previous iterations of Khan. I don't know if we have them down here. Yeah, Khan Sign of Urza. You get to see 2 cards, or your opponent decides what cards you get, but you plus and you get an extra card. Here you minus and you have to pay mana to get an extra card. Khan Sign of Ursus makes creatures on the -2, which are construct tokens as big as artifacts. Like, there's board impact. This card doesn't have any board impact. It's absolutely terrible for standard play. Really needs like a synergistic deck. But then even if we're playing standard and there's going to be artifact decks, we have Tezzeret, which is quite a good artifact synergy planeswalker. It's probably going to be better than Khan Living Legacy. I really don't know what this card is for. It just seems super weak. All right, next up, Liliana of the Veil. I mean, it's been a talk of the town. Yeah, I mean, this card is just really, really good. It has been dominating Modern for a long time, and I don't think it was as incredible. I didn't play back then, but it wasn't as good in Standard as it was in older formats. It really depends on how the format is situated. But I think on average, this card is gonna be like looking at Standard right now. I think this card is gonna be quite good. You can of course work around it with tokens, etc., to work around the -2 edict effect, which is the main, the main ability, right? That if you just play a generic creature deck where you play one creature after another, Liliana is going to be pretty brutal against that sort of deck, especially when you're on the play. Like, imagine your opponent plays a 2-drop. While you're on the play, you already have your 2 mana in play, then you untap, you play your 3rd land, you play Lily, kill their 2-drop. It's just a bad feeling for them. If that's all they have, then they're looking at a board state where they just lost a creature and you are still left with a planeswalker. They play another creature, you have a removal, kill that creature, plus the Liliana, you both discard a card. What are you gonna do on turn 4? Play another creature, then you can minus with the Liliana again, 2 for 1 them. Yeah. The +1 is quite good against control too. You play this against control, +1, +1, +1, go to the ultimate, -6, separate all permanent target player controls into 2 piles. That's pretty good ultimate. It's gonna do major damage because you can separate the lands, etc. So yeah, the +1 quite good against control too. So this is an overall great card, really, really strong. I mean, we're going to talk about some other black cards too, but we already know about Meathook Massacre, Sorin the Mirthless, Tenacious Underdog, card with Blitz. You can discard Blitz from the graveyard back. Nice synergy here with the +1 on Lily. Yeah, I mean, this card is going to be fantastic and going to be a huge player. Certainly invest your Mythic Wildcards into that. And yeah, the Khan don't at all. All right, next up. Yaya Fury Negotiator. 4 abilities. 4 abilities is quite rare on a planeswalker. Really reminiscent of Chandra, Torch of Defiance, Powerhouse and Explorer, and was a powerhouse in Standard too. Alright, the +1 is create a 1/1 red monk creature token. So on the +1, getting a creature is kind of nice. It's usually not like that. Planeswalkers usually, especially in this mana department, they make creatures when they're minus or when they're 0 or something. So getting a creature while improving your loyalty is decent. Prowess already incentivizing us to play with spells. Exile the top 2 cards of your library, choose one of them, you play that card this turn. So -1, you get some card advantage, nice. And then the -2, choose target creature an opponent controls whenever you attack this turn. Yaya, Fury Negotiator deals damage equal to the number of attacking creatures to that creature. Right, this really incentivizes us to play creatures with Yaya. If you go 1, 2, 3, Yaya, and then they play the blocker, and then you attack and deal 3 damage to the blocker. I mean, that's like the best case scenario, Wonderland Paradise. But that is quite strong, of course, because you're going to leave Yaya at 2 loyalty, fairly high, can produce more monks, be a kill spell. But it's tough to achieve, right? Like, meaningful creature to destroy that, you really want to be playing a token deck where you make multiple tokens, so maybe something like Boros with white, where you can make, I don't know, have Adeline or what have you, cards like that make multiple creatures at once. And then the Yaya can really do some damage. Yeah, I mean, overall, like the -1, -8 is you get an emblem whenever you cast a red or instant spell, you may copy it. Okay, cool. Yeah, burn creature red deck could see this as a top end card. Quite nice against sweepers, of course. Quite good against control decks because it gives you that extra permanent type that's annoying. I think this could be like a 2-off in the main deck, likely a sideboard card in various red decks. Not in every red deck, of course. You gotta synergize a little bit with prowess. You gotta have creatures. Overall, it seems just like a fair, solid card. Nothing like completely crazy. Just a good card. And in the right environment, could be like a big role player. Could be like a 2/3 main off in some of the decks in the format. I don't know, maybe black-red control, some Junt deck, who knows, or just a big red deck. Yeah, just a good card. I wouldn't invest instantly my wildcards into this. I would wait a little bit. Alright, last but not least, Ajani Sleeper Agent. A completed Planeswalker, so you may pay 2 life instead of paying 1 of its manas, and then it enters with 2 fewer loyalty counters. So it could be a free draw, which is interesting because 3 mana Planeswalkers are quite powerful usually. Getting them under your opponent's aggression is good. So if we do that for 3 mana, you get a 2 loyalty Planeswalkers. You can +1 and then draw cards, potentially reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature or Planeswalker card, you draw a card. Yeah, I mean, if you have a really heavy creature deck, then it's maybe going to be half of your deck, so you have a 50-50 shot to draw a card. I mean, it's going to be meaning you activate this twice, you're going to draw a card on average. Yeah, it's fine. It's you can scry to the bottom if you want to, so that's you get to scry and you get to draw a card. You get to scry 100% of the time, you get to draw a card 50% of the time. It's fine. It's fine. The -3, not possible if you cast it for 3 mana instantly, but for 4 mana it's possible. Then you would get 3 1/1 counters among 3 target creatures. So again, a Planeswalker that really wants creatures on the board. I mean, green-white is the creature combination. Yeah, so you need a board to have the -3 be good. It doesn't produce a creature in itself, which isn't necessarily great against control, for example, where you would really, or against, like, yeah, I mean, just in general, you would, often you like Planeswalkers that come down and make a creature, like a Garruk, -2, make a beast. That is nice. -3, put counters on stuff. Not as good. Not as big of a fan of that. It's not bad either. Of course, if you're really curved out and you're gonna do the -3, then it's gonna be good. Vigilance is nice too against the Wandering Emperor and protects your own Planeswalker afterwards, so it sticks around as a card draw engine. Overall, I mean, this is 2 colors, so it's only gonna be in green-white or maybe some Band or Naya deck, I guess. We'll see, we'll see. I think this is a reasonable Planeswalker, nothing crazy. Again, I wouldn't invest into it early on because it's a little bit more, you know, there's more stipulation on it. It's not 1 color, so it's 2 colors, and that makes it much tougher to play. The emblem is whenever you cast a creature or Planeswalker, so the target opponent gets 2 poison counters, which I don't know, that emblem gets the job done after casting 5 creatures. Takes a while, but yeah, it does get the job done eventually, I guess. Okay, so I think Ajani is fine, but like nothing crazy. Sinks of Clear Skies. Yeah. Flying Ward 2, 5 mana, 5/5. It's not a legendary. Domain, whenever it deals damage, your opponent gets to. You take the top X cards of your library where X is domain. So imagine you're playing an Esper deck, you have maybe Raffine's Tower in play. You're going to take the top 3 cards, and then your opponent takes those cards, makes 2 piles out of them. Open piles, not face down, and then you can take one of those piles. So it essentially always draws you at least 1 card. The more domain you have, I mean, as soon as you have free domain, you can draw up to 2 cards, and so on. The problem, I mean, the triggered ability when it hits is very good. I like that. It's just, it's a 5 mana 5/5, and Ward 2 is not much of protection. I mean, we had Imriv, which is Ward 4, I believe. That's pretty good protection, especially when it comes down. Imriv didn't have the ward when it attacked, but you could choose when to attack and when not, which was nice. Sinks of Clear Skies always will have Ward 2, so I don't know if they have an Infernal Grasp or something, I can just kill it off. And that's not even to speak of cards like Voidrent, who don't even care about ward or sacrifice effects, like Liliana of the Veil, Invoke Despair. Yeah, I'm really hoping for a better kill condition in this thing. Maybe a sideboard card, but I'm not a big fan, and I would not recommend crafting this. Yeah, it's just too fragile. It's too sensitive to some of the cards that see play. It's not, doesn't have enough protection. Give this thing hexproof. I'm all in, of course. Hexproof or ward. Ward 3 would already make it better. Ward 4 maybe. Ward 4 is pretty strong, I guess. But yeah, it's just Ward 2 is not enough. Silver Scrutiny, a recent spoiled card. You may cast Silver Scrutiny as though it had flash if it X is 3 or less. So you can cast it for 2 blue and 2, which will draw 2 cards. That's like below power level for it. 4 mana spell, right? Like compared to Memory Deluge. You can draw 1 card on 3 mana, but that's really not that impressive at all. And then for X is 3 or less, I think that's the best and the most common mode used on this card likely. You're gonna draw 3 cards for 5 mana. That's a decent rate. That's decent. It's not amazing or anything, but it's okay. And then later on, you can not have it flash and then draw a bazillion cards, draw 5, 6, whatever. I mean, at that point, you know, like there's a diminishing return in terms of drawing cards. You don't have to draw 5 cards necessarily to take over a game. Drawing 3 is already pretty good. Like, you're gonna find more card draw spells that keep the chain rolling. Usually you don't have to go for like that ultra super X. It's overkill. So like, looking at the card draw we have available in blue right now in standard, it's Memory Deluge. And Memory Deluge is just excellent card. It's good against discard. It's good against counter spells, right? Because it has flashback. This doesn't have a flashback, so it's gonna be worse against counter spells, etc., etc. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this thing. It's a late game spell, maybe a one-off in blue control deck, but I really would, yeah, I would shy away from crafting this one. Drag Below, 4 mana, 2 and a black sorcery. Each creature gets -X, where X is 1 plus the number of basic land types. So if you just play a blue-black control deck, have a basic island, a basic swamp, it's gonna be -3/-3. For 4 mana, that's not good enough usually. I mean, that's good enough against some decks, but it's not that fantastic. We had that type of effect in Cutdown. Crippling Fear didn't see much play. If you get to have like a Raffine's Tower again, and you're gonna make this -4/-4, now we're talking. Now this is really hitting a lot of things. I mean, there could be a format where all creatures have 3 toughness. Then the -3/-3 is already good enough. But like, let's just go on average. The rate you pay 4 mana, get -4/-4 on the entire board, that's quite strong. That's Languish, which is not in the Thesaurus, unfortunately. But Languish has been a big player when it was in Standard. It was a great sweeper for black decks. So if you're playing a 3-color control deck, or even a 2-color control deck, where you just put the Raffine's Tower and Xander's Lounge, or what's Zatira's, anyways, where you just put those lands into your deck, where you just draw them, well, because they're just blue-black duels or cycling lands anyways, then you will have a -4/-4 effect. That's gonna be good. That's gonna be really good. So this is big. For blue-black control, really nice to get a new sweeper that seems playable, like better than other sweepers in the past that we've gotten. So I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Also -X goes around board, indestructible, all those annoying effects. Yeah. So good stuff. Good stuff. I mean, crafted or not, yeah. I mean, this card is gonna see play. I think. Like you can craft this one. I think. I will certainly make try to make this one playable. That's for sure. Khan's Cylax. Ooh, baby! I did not expect this one. 3-mana legendary artifact enters the battlefield tapped. Players can't pay life to cast spells or to activate abilities that aren't mana abilities, so basically shuts off Phyrexian mana paying, which we saw on the Ajani, and some of the other cards in this set also have that, the Defilers, where you can pay life instead of paying mana, and that shuts this off, I believe. But Caves of Koilos and the Painlands that are arriving with this new set, they are not affected by this. So, what does it do? You can exile it by paying X and tapping it, destroying each non-permanent mana value X or less. Activate only as a sorcery. Wow, like this is really, really strong. Not because the rate that you pay on it is like super good, but even the rate that you pay on it is quite fine for effects like these. We've had it in the past, like Oblivion Stone and the Disc, I guess. Like you can get now for any deck, whatever color it may be, you can have an effect to wipe everything. Which that alone is a tool. Having access to that for 2 years now in Standard is gonna be interesting. And it's gonna help, for example, Izzet decks, or Izzet decks to destroy enchantments, or black decks to destroy artifacts or enchantments. So yeah, and it destroys everything, like Planeswalkers too. Imagine the Rakdos Sacrifice deck. They're gonna have Meathogs and Anvils and Obnixilis, maybe a Liliana, what have you. You just drop this thing, you get to untap on the next turn, you blow up everything. Getting that in every color, which this type of effect usually is something that only white gets, right, is really good. So this card is, I think it's gonna be like a 2-off in control decks, maybe 1 in the sideboard, 1 in the main deck, maybe 2 in the sideboard, and maybe 2 in the main deck, maybe 1 in the sideboard, something like that. But yeah, this card is gonna be a major player, and don't worry about crafting this one early if you want to play a deck with it. I think you're gonna yeah, this is a full multi-format all-star probably too. Like this card could see applications in Explorer or even Historic, where just, yeah, I mean, if you're playing like Explorer or Historic, they also have blue-black control. Blue-black control can't deal with all these food and sacrifice decks. Can't Cylax, boom, get rid of everything. It's that good. It's really, really good. All right, now to the maybe my favorite card in the set, maybe also the most impactful card for Standard play, Cutdown. I mean, I just looked, I looked over, I wrote an article for CFB, it's coming out soon, all things control, Dominaria United, talking about the spoiled cards and so on, and providing some deck lists too, so go over to CFB Pro for that one. But yeah, I for the article, I went over the creatures that see or will likely see play in Standard with Dominaria United, and oh my gosh, like Cutdown killed so many of them. It's like you're happy when your 1-mana removal kills all the 2-drops. That's already pretty good. Like that's Fatal Push, right? Fatal Push frontside, destroy all 2-drops or less. That's pretty good. And Fatal Push saw a lot of play in Standard, even though you couldn't enable Revolt there very easily. You didn't have the ability to just sacrifice something or sacrifice a fetch land or what have you. So, and it saw a lot of play. I mean, I played Fatal Push 4 times in a lot of decks. And Cutdown doesn't have that restriction and can just kill free drops. Lots of free drops. Raffine, just Briarbridge Tracker with the trigger on the stack. Like there's so many free drops it just kills. It's just unreal. And then there are even 4 drops it kills, like Halana Alena, Henrika Domnati, and etc. This card, like you would already be happy with it just killing 2 drops or less, but it kills so much more. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. I think this card will define what creatures you put into your deck. Yeah, like this will be a format defining card. Creature decks in general will absolutely hate this thing. Just stuff will be cut down here left and right. It works great with Liliana. You can cut down a small creature, play Liliana, kill the bigger creature that cut down doesn't get, right? Yeah. Perhaps we're going to see a lot more 3/3s and 4/4s in the future to go around cut down. Green decks with big creatures. But yeah, white decks where the creatures are small and have abilities, but they're small, man, cut down is just destroying that deck. So yeah. Big card. Hottie Gin. I was like, is this real? Is this a real card? We get a 1 blue. Hottie Gin's power flying. Hottie Gin's power is equal to the number of instant sorcery cards in your graveyard. And instant sorcery cards cost 1 less. This is literally an Enigma Drake in better, in 1 color, easier to cast, with Goblin Electromancer attached into it. I mean, I used to play Standard with Goblin Electromancer and Enigma Drake in my deck, both of them, 4 times. And you get it all in 1 card. It's ridiculous. Talk about power creep. I mean, yeah, this card, you play it on turn 4, for example, keep up negate, and then you will just counter their removal and then untap, draw some cards, because you have so much more mana now, because this gives you a mana advantage. Sorry, I just had the ambulance pass by. It was really loud. This gives you a mana advantage, which then allows you to like more card draw spells, cheaper removal, kill that, kill this, draw into more protection. This hits then for 6 damage. You play another Djinn. I mean, this card can be ridiculous. It can spawn entire new archetypes, like a blue-red type of deck. Yeah, this card is nuts. I think it's one of the best cards in the set. Easy wildcard inclusion. I think this card's going to see a lot of play. Yeah, you got to be aware of removal, of course. And sorry, I live near a hospital. It was again like if I don't talk, you don't hear it because my mic is only grasping. But if I talk, you hear it in the background. I might find some noise suppression system I could use. Anyways. Yeah, this card is incredible, really good. I would be very surprised if it doesn't see play. This is the type of card that's gonna spawn new archetypes. Yeah, could cost 4 mana, and then at that point it wouldn't be as good anymore. But 3 mana is really pushing it, and they really seem to be pushing it with this one for sure. All right, here next one, Shieldred the Apocalypse. This one is a 4 mana 4/5 Death Touch. Okay, that's a pretty good rate, but it doesn't have an enter the battlefield trigger. So you play it, your opponent has a removal. Not so good. So, especially like an Infernal Grasp. But 4/5 goes around a lot of removals. I mean, it does, right? Like the red removal is not going to touch it as easily with 5 toughness. Yeah. But again, something like a Liliana of the Veil is obviously good against like a big clunky creature. Nonetheless, if this thing sticks around, it's a machine. Like whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. So if they're playing a blue deck and they draw more cards, some way, somehow, they lose more life that way, right? They lose this adds up. This is not just, oh, in your draw step you lose 2. No, this adds up. And same with whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. So if you have card draw, this adds up. You gain more life. So yeah, this card is powerful. If it sticks around, it's really good. But at 4 mana, again, you kind of want to have something that enters the battlefield, gives you immediate value. If you're playing in a format where there's going to be a lot of removal. And I think Standard is going to have a lot of removal. So this is maybe more of a sideboard card, maybe a one-off here and there. Sideboard card against like red and green decks that have a tough time with a 4/5 Death Toucher and that just takes over the game. If you play against a red aggressive deck, you have this thing out, it's going to keep on gaining life. How are they ever going to raise you? And then you also raise them by them losing life. Yeah, this card is good. Yeah, I wouldn't like invest too hard in terms of wild cards. Maybe get 1 or 2 carapace. It is legendary after all, and it is not that great against removal spells. So, all right, Shivan Devastator. That is an interesting one. X-Red has been out for a while. I'm still going to talk a little bit about it. Very hard to evaluate. I would lean towards not investing into it early on. It's a mythic. Could be a rare too, honestly. Like, it doesn't really have the mythic wipe for me, but anyways. Yeah, I mean, for 3 mana, you get a 2/2 Flying Haste. For 2 mana, you definitely don't want to cast this. Like, you don't want to have a 1/1 Flying Haste. That's pretty mediocre. It fits the curve, which is the strong part, right? Like, you're missing a curve. You can just play this and then haste in there. But of course, if you play this for 3 mana, it's a 2/2 haster. We've used to play Phoenix of Ashes in the sideboards of mono red decks. Phoenix of Ashes is 10 times better than a 3 mana 2/2 haster, of course. So you always will get something worse on raid, which I don't like. But you have the flexibility built in. 4 mana 3/3 Flying Haste, 5 mana 4 for Flying Haste, I don't know. Like, if this thing had Trample, I think we'd be talking, because then the later stage Shivan Devastators, like 4x equals 5, etc., will come in with Trample. Not even like 1/1 flying chump blockers or something that can get in the way. Yeah, this way I'm not too excited about this one. I think there are better things to be doing in mono red and standard. It might see some play, especially if they're dragon synergies. But I wouldn't invest in it early. No. The World Spell, another mythic. Read Ahead is this new saga ability where you can just skip a chapter or 2 and just go to the final chapter immediately. Which here you have the first 2 chapters being look at the top 7 and take a non-saga permanent card from among them and put it into your hand. So it's a 2-for-1 essentially. You get to look twice, and then for free you get to put 2 non-saga permanent cards from your hand on the battlefield. I don't know, like for 7 mana, this is really not what I want to like. It's like finds you some big haymakers, okay, sure, but it's really slow. And if you go with the 3rd chapter immediately, or if you jump to that 3rd chapter, your hand, okay, if your hand is like incredible, you have like 2 Titan of Industry in your hand, play this World Spell, play 2 Titans. Wow, you're gonna win the game, sure. But like, could you not have just played a Titan of Industry instead of the World Spell? And you'd probably be fine, and your 2nd Titan that you're otherwise in hand too, you play it on turn 8, and you're gonna be extra fine. I don't see it. There's nothing like crazy you can cheat in, like an Emrakul or something that costs 15 mana. It just... No, I think this card's just bad all around. You'd rather have something that has immediate impact, and you don't want to play this card to just go immediately to the 3rd chapter, because that's just card disadvantage. You literally didn't get anything out of it besides mana, and what creature you have that you can't cast at 7 mana anyways. Maybe this is a thing like as a one-off in like some grindy ramped sideboard, but really just, I don't know, play Reckoner Bankbusters, play your Workshop Warchief, play your Titan of Industry, play your Vivians that make rhinos or sacrifice stuff. This is not it. This card is not it. Definitely don't invest in this. Last but not least, the Sarah Paragon. 2 and a white for flying 3/4. Okay, decent stat line. Again, similar to Shieldred, we don't really have an ETB here, not like immediate value that would make it good against removal. But once during each of your turns, you may play a land from your graveyard or cast a permanent spell with mana value 3 or less. When that permanent is put into the graveyard from the battlefield again, exile it, you gain 2 life. Okay, so kind of don't want to play this on turn 4. Kind of want to play it later and then instantly get something back. It interacts with the graveyard. Mono, like white is usually not the color that's like the best at putting lands into your graveyard, so this is kind of weird, honestly. I mean, you can cycle lands and then, or you can Eiganjo, destroy something and then play the Eiganjo again. Yeah, Field of Ruin, you can destroy something, but it's obviously very narrow. So you kind of want to pair this with black, maybe, where I don't know, but I mean, black also not that good at putting lands in the graveyard. I don't know. This card's interesting. It's more like a 7-drop to me, I guess, because I really want to play it and then get a free drop back. But at that point, you can just play a powerful 7-drop, right? Just play Sanctuary Warden as a powerful 6-drop. That comes to mind to me. Yeah, I don't know. Like, this card, I wouldn't invest in it early on. I mean, maybe I'm missing on it. Maybe it is really good. But I don't know. Later on in the game, I would just play something more powerful that's not reliant on a graveyard. There's also things like Graveyard Trespasser, just working on the graveyard. Little downside there. And just the free for flying in itself is not good enough. It's clearly not good enough for standard play. So I don't know. This card is a little weird and hard to assess. I don't know. If it sticks around, you have a lot of cards in your graveyard to flash back. Obviously, it can be insane, just like Shieldred. But that means it sticks around. That means it's in your graveyard. Stuff is in your graveyard to flash back. And yeah, 4 toughness is also less than 5. So it's a little bit easier to kill. All right, guys. That's going to be it for this spoiler talk. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it. If I can improve it somehow, if you would like to know about something else, ask. You can also ask in the comments about a specific card. I might do this in a week again when the entire spoiler is out. Or I don't know, in a couple of days. When this entire spoiler is out, I don't even know. Maybe it's already out on Friday. Well, in any case, hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, see you in the next one.